watching Eye on India, and we're discussing CNBC Tv18 exclusive news breaks on the GST. Joining us on the program, the Chief Minister of Puducherry, Mr. Narayanasamy, Mauvin Godinho, member of the GST Council representing the state of Goa, and also with us Harishankar Subramaniam, partner and national leader of indirect tax at EY. Mr. Godinho, let me ask you about the possibility of including real estate in the ambit of the GST. I am given to understand, sir, that a presentation was made to the GST Council, but what we are given to believe is that inclusion of real estate will not just require amendments to the GST law, but may in fact also require a constitutional amendment. A, can you confirm that to us? And B, how soon do you believe we could move to a real possibility of GST being included? Real estate being included in GST.
Real estate is a very important thing and it really impacts the economy, what decisions we take. As you yourself have said, besides needing a constitutional amendment, as far as getting real estate in the GST ambit, I would simply say it is a work in progress. We want to very carefully assess each and every aspect, and that's why the thing was deferred until the next meeting. I am also keeping my fingers crossed because we need to do our homework well. Because the real estate is one thing which impacts the entire economy. The growth in housing, demand for housing, and everything else matters. So I can safely say that in the shortest possible time, we will be considering this perhaps in the next GST Council, and we will come at a very good decision.
Okay, likely to come at a very good decision. Mr. Narayanasamy, let me take that forward. What we are given to understand is that it will require amendments in the GST law. You will need to define goods to include movable and immovable property, define services as anything other than goods. The services definition will need to include tangibles. States will continue to have the right to levy stamp duty. Is there some consensus within the council, sir, on the treatment of these issues that I just spoke of? And do you share Mr. Godinho's confidence that you could arrive at a decision on inclusion of real estate in GST at the level of the GST Council as early as the next few meetings?
No, as far as the real estate is concerned, though it was listed in the agenda in Guwahati meeting, the presentation was not made by the officers in the council. In fact, it is one of the important area where the states, right from the Commune Panchayat level up to the level of the state, revenue will be given to the state. Therefore, if we bring it within the ambit of GST, what will be the implications? We have to apply our mind, we have to study with the officers, and also some of the people who got knowledge on the GST law. And then we will have to come to a conclusion. We cannot hurry it up because already because of the demonetization, real estate sector is in doldrum. And further adding to their woe, if you put them in GST in a hurried manner, the entire real estate sector will collapse and our country's economy also will collapse. Therefore, we have to take a very cautious decision whether it can be brought under within the ambit of the GST law or not, because it's a larger issue which you have to do.
Okay, larger issue needs considered decision-making. Mr. Godinho, on the other aspect of electricity, for instance, and today we had the Chief Economic Advisor on the channel speaking to us and saying that his firm belief was that electricity must come under the ambit of the goods and services tax. Do you see some forward movement on that issue as well, sir?
As far as I am concerned and majority of the members of the GST Council are concerned, we want to move forward quite quickly and at whatever fast pace possible, whether it is real estate, whether it is getting electricity in the ambit. As pointed out by Mr. Narayanasamy, and I would also say that we are very careful, and it is not one particular political party deciding these issues. It is all the parties together included. We have to come at the right decision after considering each and every aspect. But I think majority, again, I will say, are of the view that even electricity should come under the GST, And if you have noted, even a state like Jammu and Kashmir, I read the other day, even Mr. Drabu advocating that they have their own laws, so they will get electricity under GST. I think that will be a forward step, and perhaps that would be serve us also as an example to move even faster in that direction. It would perhaps not be as complicated as getting real estate in the ambit. Because
real estate. So electricity probably,
One thing we must realize, we cannot keep on subsidizing things every now and then. And tomorrow, everything needs upgradation, your whole power system. Tomorrow, if you don't have that money and you have the old systems continuing, then naturally there would be a collapse. We were not looking at a collapse. We are looking things to build on even further. And that's why we need to put electricity in the GST ambit as soon as possible, but after looking at everything very carefully.
Absolutely. Sir, I'll come back to you in just a second. Let me bring in a quick word in from Hari Shankar Subramaniam. Hari, you heard what both Mr. Narayanasamy and Mr. Godinho had to say on the inclusion of real estate and electricity. Real estate perhaps more complex and complicated. Electricity perhaps will be simpler of the two to pull off. Your quick comments.
Both are absolutely welcome, and both has to be into GST. Like Mr. Godinho rightly said, if you want transparency as far as real estate is concerned, it has to be in GST. The only area there is how do you handle the stamp duty issue. That's where you will require both a constitutional and a GST law amendment. As far as electricity duty is concerned, it's more simpler. In fact, in the interim when the discussions happened, electricity at one time was to be in GST and then it suddenly went out of GST. So with energy security and the kind of investments that you require, both should be into GST. And I'm saying in all this conversation, I'm a little concerned that petroleum has got forgotten.
Right.
Petroleum equally should merit those 5 products to be in GST as early as possible, because there is a huge amount of cascading by virtue of that, because that is an input for many industrial sectors.
That is right. But Hari, very quickly, I also want to talk to you about another pressing issue, anti-profiteering, and I think the Finance Minister making it very clear in the last meeting, specifically on the issue of restaurants. If you don't pass on the benefits to consumers, then there are going to be consequences. What's the concern now as far as anti-profiteering goes?
No, so with this rate reduction on 200 odd items, in fact, price drop has become right at the front. I mean, it's back into focus. And when you talk about price drop because of headline rate decreases, anti-profiteering always comes into focus. So in my view, that's again come onto the table. Yes, you've already seen companies very keen to really reduce the prices wherever they've got benefits of rates. I don't think that is an issue. But my view is it's important that soon the council and the government brings out deadlines as to how this has to be done, so that there is consistency. The problem is today each will try and do what they understand needs to be done.
Right.
Everybody wants to do it because really they want to pass on those benefits. But if there is a defined methodology like what you saw in Australia or what you saw in Malaysia, that would be really helpful so that you will have less litigation on that.
Okay, let me very quickly bring in closing comments from our 2 GST Council members. Mr. Godinho, let me start by asking you to respond to the point here and the concern that Hari Shankar Subramaniam is raising on the issue of price cuts not being passed on and anti-profiteering, the vagueness around that issue, sir.
Yes, the classic example being that of restaurants where actually they used to pay 18.5% and they were brought to a slab of 18 with the input tax. Even though the relief was 0.5%, to the contrary, they were additionally billing the people for 18%, 9 plus 9. So this was a very wrong thing being done by them. That's the reason why looking at the sentiment of the people and looking at the demand from the people, we have come down to 5% without any input tax credit, without ITC for them. So we want basically the benefits of low rates to be passed down to the end consumer all over the country on all the goods where rates have been lowered. This is not happening. And that is why in due course of time, though it is not the intention of the GST Council, because again it should not seem like we are going back to the Inspector Raj. But if there is no compliance and people don't pass on the benefit, then obviously we have to act. But I hope the new trust develops between the government and the traders and the businessmen at large and all the stakeholders, and let us learn to trust each other. Basically, sometimes due to some trust deficit, people don't want to believe certain things and things happen the wrong way. But if benefits are not passed on to the end consumer, certainly you will see action being taken under the Anti-Profiteering Act, and we will be seeing that benefits do get passed on to the end consumer. That is the ultimate aim. Otherwise, you have such a nice architecture of GST and rates being lowered.
Right.
What use is it if the benefit is not passed on to the end consumer? One has to factor that very important point as our goal.
Absolutely. Well, those are the headlines that we've got you on this program today, that we've got about 17 states that have seen a revenue shortfall of more than 25%. The good news is that we are seeing a pickup as far as the GST collections are concerned, and we're also seeing an improvement in a bunch of states. In fact, 13 states have seen a marked improvement over the last 3 months in the percentage reduction in shortfall in the October 2017 revenue as compared to the August 2017 revenue picture. The Chief Minister of Puducherry, Mr. V. Narayanasamy, Mr. Mauvin Godinho and Harishankar Subramaniam, appreciate you joining us here on ION India. Thanks very much for your time. With that, it is time for us to wrap up our special. We'll see you again in just a short while from now. From all of us here, goodbye. Thanks for watching.